Hello everyone, welcome. I hope you're having a good bank holiday weekend. I did quite a bit of gardening yesterday. Can't move today, but that's standard. And it's actually started to rain now, so no gardening time. So I thought I'd come back in and create a card. So I'm just going with the flow. So I've got a piece of Pink Frog smooth card, 300 GSM, and it's 4.5 by 6.5 inches. And I thought we'd create a card, and I want to use the salvage, where did I get that? It's because I've just picked up salvage patina. I'm going to use the branched heart. So I'm probably going to turn it this way. So first of all, I'm going to brayer some colour onto the card. My brayer's still got a little bit of colour on there, so we'll just wipe that off. The Distress Oxides wipe off quite nicely from your brayer, but the colour stays on there. As you can see, there's quite a bit of colour on there. It doesn't look like there's any colour on, but there's actually colour on there. So we'll just give that a little bit of a clean. I mean, there you go. That's just what you want to do. Tune into Tracy Evans' channel, and you don't make a card, you get to see how she cleans a brayer. Woohoo! Oh, the excitement. So I'll just dry that off a little bit. There we go. So what I want to do is apply some colour to my card, and I find this an easy way to sort of break down that white space if I'm a little bit worried about, I don't know where to start. I always find brayering some colour onto card, it's a lovely way to sort of break down that fear of white space. So I'm going to start with Twisted Citron. And I'm just going to apply the colour to my brayer. And I'm just going to sort of lift and flick the colour across the card. So lift and flick the colour across the card. Turn it round because it's easier. And it's sort of lift, flick, lift, flick, lift, flick. And if you're not getting a smooth enough layer, just keep brayering over. Just keep going over. And just put your colour sort of here, and you can avoid the edges of your brayer. So I've got enough colour laid down there, and because I'm using the greens, I don't need to wipe that off. You could have another piece of card on the side. Let's just see if any colour comes off. And if you have another piece of card on the side, you brayer your colour on, and there is actually colour on there. It's difficult for you to see by the naked eye, but there's actually colour on there. And if I wipe my non-stick craft sheet, you can see there's colour on there. So it's surprising how much colour is retained on your brayer. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to use Bundled Sage. I love Bundled Sage, it's a lovely colour. So, now the only thing I like to remember is that I don't want to cover all this up. I want to add another shade on there, but I don't want to cover all this layer up. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the Bundled Sage. Let's add some down the side. So you're creating a nice, easy background. But what I'm not doing is I'm not covering up all that Twisted Citron, just so that, you know, we've still got that colour on there. And it just creates a lovely, easy background that's sort of got some different tones of colour. And in the flesh, when you look at your brayering, you can always see those colours better in the flesh, but it's lovely. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to use some Mowed Lawn. Now, Mowed Lawn is a little bit of a darker colour, and I try to add a little bit less to my brayer, just so that it doesn't overpower absolutely everything. But can you see I've still got some colour here, so I can just bring that in to my card. A little bit more of the colour, lift and flick. So we've got some of that mowed lawn on there, and we don't want it to overpower the card. So then I'm going to go back to bundled sage, just like you would if you were using pencils and you were blending, you know, dark to light or light to dark. You blend those colours by going to the previous colour. Exactly the same when I'm using the oxide. So I'm going to the previous colour, which is bundled sage, to blend that mowed lawn. That's all I'm doing. And then I'm going to go to the lightest colour, which is Twisted Citron, for a final layer, just to blend all the colours just with that Twisted Citron. So you're sort of blending your colours no different than you would if you'd got your... Can you see now? You can see there's colour on that brayer. So you could quite easily brayer that off onto another piece of card. I'm just going to brayer the wet off. But you can see there's some colour on there. What I'm going to do is just add a little touch of salvage patina. I love playing with backgrounds and experimenting with sort of different colours. And this just adds another sort of layer and dimension to that background. So this is salvage patina, and that's why I was talking salvage when I started the video, because it was in my head. And there's just, let me see if I can lift that up, there's just touches of that salvage patina on there. Sometimes when you take a photograph, you can't pick up the different variations in colour. It's very difficult. There we go. Sometimes it is difficult to pick up those different variations in colour, just so that you can, can't pick it up, just so you can see that. But we've broke down the background now, so that's perfect. I'm not going to add any water yet, I'm just going to carry on. So I've got my branched heart here, so I'm going to use my branched heart. I'm just going to add, I think, a couple. And what I'm going to do, I'm not going to stamp in black this time. I'm going to stamp in Verdant and Shady Lane. I have got these online, but I want to stamp in these. Now, if I stamp in the Verdant, it's not going to show up very well on that background, is it? If you think about it. So what I'm going to do is choose the Shady Lane. So we'll choose that darker green colour. And again, you can see that I'm adding a good layer of colour with the Shady Lane, just like I would if I was using my Nocturne, the black colour. So let's have this around about there, like so. Now this is a permanent ink pad, so any water that I add after the event won't affect this because it's a permanent ink pad. So just give that time. You've got that oxide layer on there, so just give that a little bit of time just to grab hold of the surface. There we go. Just beautiful. I love that stamp. I just think it's really lovely. It's beautiful. So let's just again add a really good layer of that ink. And then I'm going to add this sort of there. There we go. And again, just give that time just to sort of grab hold of the surface. It stopped raining. You never know, you might get some time in the garden later, Tracy. It seems to have been a late season this year. Normally, you know, I've pretty much done, you know, all the hard work. But this year, because we've had so much rain, we've not been able to get out there. And there just seems to be constant you know, cutting shrubs back, trimming, tidying. It's just constant. So just given that time, and just looks beautiful, doesn't it? That stamp. I think that stamp is absolutely gorgeous. I absolutely love it. Now what I'm thinking is, do I want to cut one out that I place on the top here, which is now it's going in a totally different direction than I was going to go in, but hey ho. So now I might put one on the top for dimension. So it's going in a totally different direction than I thought I was going in, but that's being creative for you. So now, because it's going on white card, I'm going to use this card I've just braided off on. I can use some of that verdant. So we'll use the verdant. And then we'll use some touches of the Shady Lane. Now, if I go on to that, I've just thought I'm not going to get that nice pop of white. So let's go on to the white card, because I'll get that lovely touch and pop of white. And the other VersaFine Clairs dry a little bit quicker than the black. Just, I mean, look at that. I just think that is just gorgeous. So let's cut some of this card just around there. Could have used my big scissors, which have taken half the time, but try not to get too much out. There we go. Now, what I tend to do with the little twiggy bits is I don't cut everything out. Oh, just drop it on the floor. I don't cut everything out, and I sort of leave a white border, just because it makes it a little bit easier just to cut out. And I'm just trying to hold the card so that I don't touch the ink quite so much, because it is still wet. That's why it's got a good open time. So I'm trying to keep that in camera just so that you can see. And if I leave a white border, it's so much easier. I just like the openness of the branch when you cut it out. I love that. I was packing orders this morning, so it's lovely to have a little bit of time being creative with the stamps. Any orders that I received this weekend, because it's bank holiday, I'm sending a handmade card with the orders. The orders will go out on Tuesday, because obviously it's bank holiday, and I'm actually sending a couple of vintage pen nibs as well, just to say thank you. Let's just cut. I love how this looks. When it's cut out. And that's also another reason I like demoing on my YouTube channel, because I can take my time. I can take as long or as little time as I wish creating. It is an advantage having our YouTube channels. It's just lovely. I do love these two greens. I'm flicking little bits of card everywhere, so I'll find these in 2 weeks' time. Even when I hoover up, I'll still find little bits of card that's flirted everywhere. Let me go. So I'm being a little bit more, I've got another one cut out for you to show you how you don't have to go quite as fine as I've done. And I've done that just so I can show you. Because at the moment, I'm hearing a lot of people say, oh, this only takes 5 minutes to do. And I do sort of begrudge that sometimes, because being creative isn't always about rushing. That's why we should show a variety of project. We're supposed to be enjoying our creative time. You know, everything doesn't have to be in a rush. So you can see I've cut that out quite fine. If you didn't want to cut it out quite as fine, you can leave more of the white areas in if you wish. So don't think you have to cut it out this fine. But this will then be 3D'd up on here, and I love that sort of white against this green. So what I'm going to do is, oh dear, I've still got my jar of water here from 2 days ago, which is not really good. Not good at all. Spit it out, Tracy. Where's my normal brush? Oh, it's on the side here. There we go. So I've got my little piece of kitchen roll. I'm just going to use some water. I don't think that's very clean because I've got the grey Inktense pencil in there. Let me just place that down. So I'm going to pick up this water, and then I'm just going to just add the water to my heart, and then I'm just going to blot that, and you will see it will pick up some touches of that colour. And the good thing is that it doesn't affect this permanent stamping. It doesn't affect that at all. But the thing you need to remember is you need to use clean water, or else you'll just put the green back on again. Again, that water's green. So we'll just, there we go. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Excuse me. I never just do one sneeze. So I've now sort of got some bleaching out areas in there. I'm then going to just use my same brush and just flick some of that water just on here. Just so that that reacts. I'm just picking up the water that's on my non-stick craft sheet. We're just going to give that a little bit of time just to do its thing. Let me just lift this up just so you can see we're getting those bleached outer areas that you can see where I've sort of flicked the water. You just need to give it a couple of seconds so it can do its thing. And then I'm just going to dab my card. Can you see that you pick that colour up nicely? You need a card that allows that reaction. and we'll take the moisture. There we go. So we've got some sort of touches of the bleached out areas without it being too much. So what I want to do then, where's my other stamp? I'm going to go to my new release, my latest release, and I'm going to use background elements. I just adore this stamp. I'm going to use the background elements stamp. Try to leave the acetate in the packaging. I just love all the little details on this stamp. So what we can do is we can do some tone on tone stamping. So I'm going to use the Shady Lane just to add a little bit of detail to my background. And what I'm going to do is just sort of lay the stamp on there and then press once. I'm not going to press really hard, just so that I get that really fine detail, which is the reason that I made the stamp, is so that you can get some fine detail in your background that isn't overpowering. I mean, look at that. Oh, I can't pick up. Look at that. I just adore that. But the reason I designed it is that it gives you the background element without overpowering everything else. Let's add, preferably the right way, Tracy. There we go. It's just wonderful. It just doesn't overpower everything. And I bet I could do a second generation. Absolutely can do second generation. And third generation. Just wonderful. It's just a really pleasing to the eye background, I feel. It's just very pleasing to the eye. So let's just place that on one side, and then, which one has got the little beard on? I then want this stamp. I then want my shadowed elements, because I want those little birds. So TE12. And I've cut my little beards off there so that they're separate. Just going to wipe the back of that stamp because it's all, oh dear me, it's already been used so much. It's got, you can feel it, it's quite gritty just on the background. There we go. And now I can use my little beard, so we'll just use that. No, I didn't want to stamp it in. I didn't want to stamp it in green. Let's just remove that. Let's just remove a bit of that moisture. There we go. I want to do it in the black. I don't think I've pulled that one out. So I want to use my Nocturne ink. Just so I can add a little bits here and there of the little beard. So again, even though it's just a small stamp, I'm just giving that time just to grab hold of the surface, just so that I've got my little beard on there. So let's just add another one. Just add that little beard on there. Let's just grab that pen, because there we go. I think I missed a little bit of his poor head. So this is going to go on here. So this will be 3D'd up. So I would like another beard just so that it's not odd. Let's stamp another one there. And because I'm using the black, that goes over that green really nicely. And I'll add the touches of white afterwards. So I can then add this just up here like so, just so that it's got some dimension. You can even add another sort of, have I cut that out? Another layer if you want, so that that's layered up. I quite like that one because it's a little bit finer, so it works quite nicely. So I'm going to grab some black cotton. So we'll grab some black cotton and add some black over there. Just to add some texture. So I pull it out in long lengths like this, really long lengths. Just so, and then I get it attached to the heart, just so it's all loose and not too clumpy. So then I just sort of spread it out a little bit, just so it's not too clumpy. There we go. And I don't need to stick the sort of branchy bits, because you want to have the movement on them. So I'm just adding a little bit of the pin flare. You can add bits of card, you can add your 3D foam pads, whatever you like using. Just add, let's cover our little beard up. We still want to see that little beard, just to give that a little bit of dimension, just so that it pops a little bit more. And I'm going to faff forever deciding where that's going, and then I'm going to, I wonder if I've got it on my desk. Oh, here it is. I've got some, it's just on my desk, I know, because I was doing something else. My Winsor & Newton gouache opaque paint, so I can splatter some of that on if I wish. What I'm going to do is, let's go on. I wonder if I've got just a little bit of card. Here we go. I've got a little bit of card here. And I've got the tiniest little hole punch. Now, you don't have to have the hole punch. You can do your circles freehand if you wish. So I've got this little circle here. I'm going to put that back. I'm just going to take this white pigment paint. Then I'm going to just dip my brush, just in case I've got any green on there. Let's just dry that a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this little circle here. And I'm just going to add some circles of the white just to the background. And I can just add layers of that colour. Just to add sort of circles dotted here and there, just on my background. Now you can do those freehand if you wish. But the idea is that we're just adding that pop of colour just to the background. Now don't forget that oxide will react. So it just gives sort of a different dimension to your project. and it just lifts and lightens the whole area and just gives a different dimension to your project. Use any white opaque paint that you wish. Use your Posca pen. I'm using this because with it being a paint, it actually adds texture to that background. And the idea is that we're enjoying our creative time. So let's just go around, just adding your little circles. Let's just grab another one out of there. Let me just wipe that so that we don't transfer anything over. And just take your time just to add your bits of white paint. Make sure you do some off the edge as well, just because it's more pleasing to the eye. It looks a little bit more random as well, rather than having everything. There we go. So don't think about it, just sort of make it quite random. You hardly use any paint. If you don't want to use a brush, just use a sponge. You could even use your finger. So you can just, if you don't want to, you can just use your finger. You don't have to use a brush if you don't wish. So you can use a sponge if it makes it easier for you. It's entirely up to you. So I can just pick this up and just apply it with my finger. And it's going to give a lot more texture applied with your finger. Let's move that out of the way. Where can I move that to? There we go. Nowhere to move it to. So it's entirely up to you how you apply that. You can use a sponge, you can use your fingers, whatever you wish. Just want another one there. Actually, do you know, if you use your finger, you hardly need any paint at all. It's surprising. You don't need hardly any, and it adds some wonderful texture. So I'm just going to get a clean wipe. And then I'm just going to use the rest of the paint. Let's just make that quite watery. You could just tap something on here. I don't think I've got it quite watery enough. There we go. You can also use, that's it, some of the same paint just to add your splatters. But what it does is it adds more. I think I'll explain when it's dry. Right, let's clean this up. Let's just clean my splatters up. Now, obviously, those splatters are more fluid than, I've got everything everywhere. They're more fluid than if you were using your Posca pen. But you just get a little bit of a different look. That's the idea, is that you just get a slightly different look because you sort of get a wetter splatter. Let's just lift that up there. Right, so I'm just going to grab a sentiment. So let's just grab a sentiment. So which sentiment do I want to add? What have you got on? Special friends, heart, calm, peace, breathe. I'm now looking at all my sentiments and deciding. Find joy in the ordinary. So we'll use that one. Find joy in the ordinary from TE14. There we go. I've got that many things on my desk. I can use this bit of card that I braided off onto. Make sure I've got my black ink. Now that wet paint that we've splattered on is going to take longer to dry because you've sort of done bigger blobs. Let's just grab our long scissors. I love bank holiday weekends. Just because you just get a little bit longer. Well, like Ian does anyway before he gets lots of messages for work. So it's just lovely. Right. Especially if I can get some garden jobs done. Ian's not quite so pleased getting garden jobs done. So I'm just going to do it on here. So we'll just have our little faux black mat, just to give that a little bit more definition. I always like to clean the black up, mainly because I just get it everywhere. So let's bring this in. And can you see, let me just lift now. Can you just see that it's a little bit wetter, the blobs are, because, you know, I've put sort of bigger blobs and more moisture in the splatters, but it's nice when they dry. So I'm just going to add that Find Joy in the Ordinary. So I'm just going to stick that on one side. And then I'll probably use my scissors just to press that down. Just to hold that down. It's still moving at the moment. I just need it to grab hold. There we go. Let's just... And the amount of times I faff and keep touching things, it's just hilarious because I do that all over. Now, do I want to add anything else? Just bear with me. I'm going to try just to maybe cut a couple of these out just to see if I want to add them. This is the Persicaria. You can tell when I'm getting engrossed in my project because every stamp known to man comes out. So let's just use the Persicaria. I want a spare piece of card. You know, I've got that many backgrounds and hardly any spare pieces of white card. let's use the Charming Pink and a little bit of Monarch. So I'm going to just add a little bit of the Charming Pink and then tiny touches of the Monarch, a little bit of purple. Just love that. Love that. I may only need one, which let's go for that middle one. And again, just like when I cut out the branch, I sort of just go in and out. I don't cut everything out precisely. I give that sort of perception that you've cut everything out. And this is why I cut the card out, so I'm not faffing with big pieces of card. There we go. Laura's friend, Laura, my daughter, her friend is doing the Manchester half marathon today. I was like, oh, more energy than I've got. I can just about make the gym, never mind run. Right. So just, I'm sort of giving the perception of the shape, just going in and out. There we go. So I've just got that cut out. I can just straighten that. And I can just tuck this in just to give that pop. So I want that one there. And you know that I'm going to cut the others out, don't you? You knew that all along. I know you did. So we'll just cut. We'll just add a little bit of adhesive to the centre area. And you do know I'm going to faff. There we go. So just to that centre area, just so that it catches. And then let's have this one. And let's cut that out because that will irritate me like that. And just cut this out. Again, just go in and out. Just to give that perception. There we go. I couldn't remember then whether I'd cut out a matte and layer for the card. I have. Well, I haven't. It's what I've got in my collection. Let's not. I literally picked the piece of card up because it was in my drawer. So I like to make sure I use them. There we go. So just straighten that out. And then we'll just add a little bit of adhesive. Maybe just in the centre again. And then just add that there. And it's up to you what you add to your card. I'm going to add, I was going to say I'm going to add the third one. Couldn't find it then, which is just the smaller one. Just to add that smaller one. There we go. Let's just add a little bit of adhesive just near the bottom on this one. You can see that I'm sort of trying to do this while this heart here moves around. It's not the easiest. You know, if you did it when it was dry, it's far, far easier. But I don't do that. You know that by now. So I'm still going to add some of my Posca pen. That's me all over. Like so. I'm just going to grab my heat tool, just because I don't want to faff around with something that is really soaking wet. Plus, really, you're asking for trouble trying to stick things down when they're absolutely soaking wet. It's just a good idea just to dry that off a little bit. Just makes it a little bit easier to handle. Plus, if you want to add a little bit of stamping over the top, so for instance, if I get my black ink, have I got the right area? So here on the stamp set again, the background stamp set, wherever the white is, I can then just add a little bit of black, and the white is underneath there. So, the lid's not going to be much use, Tracy. So I can take a few of the other elements on the stamp. I'll show you what I mean. So let me just add this here. Oh yeah, look. So I've got the paper. Oh, I've got the paper clip there that I've added, but the white is underneath. I just love it. Absolutely. I just adore this stamp. So I'm just going to add a little bit. Let's add a little bit of this sort of distressed paper edging. So I can pick little areas of the stamp, look, and it just adds just wonderful, just that je ne sais quoi, sort of just a little bit of what you need. I know, I am totally balmy, but there you go. So where I've got the white dots, I can add a little bit more of the text, but this time in the black, and it just sort of lifts that design a little bit more. There we go. So now I've dried that off a little bit. You could dry your black ink if you wish and blot that. So once you place that onto a black mat, that's when it really sort of comes to life. So we'll just add that to our black mat. And what you do is you tip it upside down before it's dry and hope that the whole thing doesn't just fall off because you're trying to stick something down that is nowhere near dry. There we go. So I'm just sort of, that's it, we'll just press that middle area as well, just so that it sort of grabs hold and we haven't got like a bubble. There we go. Now, if this was dry, obviously everything is a lot easier to work with. So I've added, so the piece that we worked on was 4.5 by 6.5. The black mat is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And the card blank is 5.5 by 7.5. Because I love that pop of white sort of against. So let's add that. Oh, so like I just moved it then completely. I often sort of hold it up because I can see a little bit better. That's better. And then I can press that down just so that we can add that to our card blank. And what you get with the circles is something that is very sort of textural, so it's lovely. But I love the little black touches over the top as well. Now, we nearly forgot our little bird here. Where you can see the bird, just add a few touches of the white. Let me just scribble that. So just add a few touches of white. I tell you what, let me just lift this up. Where I've added it with my finger, it's still a little bit wet, but it's even more textural when I've added it with my finger. And then also you can add a few sort of white touches to your persicaria, just here and there as well. The white touches really sort of bring everything to life. And there you go. We've had nearly an hour creative time together, which I absolutely love. I love reconnecting with you all. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday and Bank Holiday Monday. Love to all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.